Hello, my name is Janice Rojas. I will be describing the axial skeleton. I decided to draw them all out. I'm not a really good 3D model, so hopefully you will understand all my drawings. So I will begin with the first part, which would be the modules that contain the rib, the sternum, and the thoracic vertebra separately, and then I'll show you them all put together, which is forming the thoracic cage. The thoracic cage also is it can also be translated as the ribs, but it would be depicting the costal cartilages. So the first picture you will see is of the ribs. Um, I colored it in brown, but starting from here, exclude these. It will be starting from here all the way down. These are the ribs, and then I will show you the picture of the sternum. Here's the sternum. And then here is the thoracic vertebra. I drew it laterally so you can see it, and I also drew it as if it was seen overhead view. And then to show you the thoracic cage depicting the costal cartilages is in this one. This is the thoracic cage, and here are the costal cartilages that are being depicted all in blue. Okay, so the thoracic cage is, well, there's only like 3 colors in here, but it would be the color brown. In the second part, it is asking me to draw a picture of the thoracic cavity that includes the subdivision of the bony walls, the serous membranes, and the organs of these cavities. So, move on to the next one. Here is the thoracic cavity. I don't know if you can see it very good. I'll zoom in. Go up slowly. I have also labeled all the organs and serous membranes. I will also be describing, I'll be describing each one of them. And but to show you the subdivisions first, they are outlined in green, which is the median sternum, which is pointed over here around this area. The peractivia, I didn't want to white it out, but I kind of pointed. It's meant to point around here. And then the pericardia cavity, which is pointing over here. Sorry, I only have a laptop to record this. Then the serous membranes and organs are all outlined in blue and black. There's a lot of them, so hopefully you can see them all. I will also take pictures of these to upload them, that way it can be viewed easily. Okay, the thoracic organs do include the lungs, the heart, part of the esophagus, the trench, the thymus gland, and the thoracic duct. The thoracic cavity, I did show it here a little. The thoracic cavity is surrounded by the rib cage. It is separated from the abdominal cavity and by the diaphragm. When the serous membranes is one of the thin membranes that covers the wall organs in the thoracic and abdominal cavities. So right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna describe part of all the serous membranes. The visceral serous membrane, it covers the organ. The perioserous membrane, it is the membrane that attaches to the cavity wall, and you also have the pericardia cavity, which is the serous membrane lining the cavity surrounding the heart. The pericardium, it's one of the serous membranes that contains the heart and lining tissue sacs. the the pleural cavity is a serous membrane cavity surrounding each lung. You also have the the parietal pleura, which is a serous membrane in lining the inner surface of the thoracic wall. It is also the lateral surface of the mediastinum and the superior surface of the diaphragm. The residuopleural is one of the serous membrane that lines each lung, which is also part of the pleural cavity. The peritoneal cavity is a serous membrane lined cavity containing the abdominal pelvic cavity. You have the visceral peritoneum, sorry about the words, is a serous membrane covering many of the abdominal organs. And then you have the peritoneum is one of the serous membrane lining the walls of the abdominal pelvic cavities and the inferior surface of the diaphragm. So next, I will be describing is the thoracic column, which is located, this is the thoracic column. Sorry, I had it dented in a little, like folded in so it can fit on the poster. It is located in the vertebral column in the chest area, which is separated with 5 different parts of the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and the coccyx. This is one of the parts, but this is only the thoracic part, which contains of 12 vertebrae. The ribs that are connected to the thoracic spine, which you see in Module 1. I'll show you in just a few that are drawn all together. It shows that the thoracic spines also it protects the vital organs. So that's why it's very important because let me show you here. See, the ribs are connected to the thoracic spine, and because of this, it protects the vital organs inside. Okay. Then let's move on to the next thing. I will be describing the bony landmarks of different views of each bone. I labeled all anatomical landmarks of the thoracic vertebrae, sternum, and ribs. I put them all together in one so it'll be easier to see them. Hopefully it's a little bit easier to see them, but I also labeled part of the thoracic cage and the classification of the ribs. I will take a picture so it can be seen easier, but here it is. Each one is labeling everything. It's a lot of it. For example, you have the first thoracic vertebra, you have the jugular notch, you have the ribs, the body, you have the facets, the heads and the neck of each rib. There's a lot of them. You have the sternum, you have the true ribs, which are directly joined in the sternum. You have the false ribs, which are actually, they're false because they are not attached directly to the sternum. That's why they're called false ribs. And there's 5 of them. They start from number 8 to number 11 and 12, which is the last pair of the 5 ribs. They do not have any attachments, as a matter of fact. And I think that's pretty much it. Some of the anatomical landmarks are the thoracic vertebra, the sternum, and the ribs. But I'll take a picture also so it can be shown how I labeled each and every one of them. And also you see the thoracic cage is in there. This is the whole thoracic cage, and if I zoom in a little bit more, around here in this area, I labeled the classification of the ribs. You can also, so you can understand some of the classifications of the ribs. they're classified according to their shape. So there are some long bones which are longer than they are wider. It's usually the upper and lower limbs. Then you also have the short bones which do not have any axis, which are usually the wrist and ankle bones. So the flat bones are thin bones that are formed on the roof of the cranium, ribs, and sternum. And then you have the irregular bones. Do not fit in any of these categories actually. They're the skull bones, the vertebra, the and the pelvic girdles. Okay, so the next part I would be talking about is I color code the articulated surface which matches the articulated surface of the other bones. So I labeled the required articular surface and assigned the bones and form to the assigned joints. So here are some. In this one, the demifascists, they articulate with the head of the ribs. You also have the thoracic intervertebral joints, which is what is in purple. And then you have the costal vertebra joints, which is labeled all in red. And then over here, in this one, you have the costochondrial joints, which is all the blue, which is attached to the sternum. It all in one attaches to the sternum. Okay. I'm going to also explain the importance of each landmark in every bone, using some of my models and the main functions of these landmarks and bones. I will talk about some of the most important ones. But before this, let me go ahead and describe you what the costal vertebral joint is. The one right here. This is one of them. Sorry, I'm going back to the other one because I forgot to describe this one. It consists of the head of the ribs articulating it with the superior costal facets that corresponds to the vertebra. It also articulates within inferior costal facets and the intervertebral disc separating the two vertebrae. If you want to know what it usually joins by, it is present in the vertebra except the T11 and the T12. So some of the ribs and costal landmarks are the head, neck, tubercle, body, and costal globes, which they're labeled in here. You'll see them in here. I labeled each and every one of them of the ribs of some of the landmarks. Okay, so I'm going to stay with this picture up. I'm going to just go back to what I was about to say, is to describe the importance of the bony landmarks for every bone in my images. So I'm going to actually hold this picture up while I describe it because it has all the bones that I was talking about. You have the mandible, which is the uppermost portion of the sternum. You have the jugular notch, which is identified as the upper face of the mandible. You have the clavicle notch and the sternal angle. The sternal angle is very important because it's the articulation of the mandible and the body of the sternum. It is also known as a palatable clinical landmark. There is also the body, which is important too because it connects to the ribs and forms the front of the rib cage. It helps protect the heart and lungs and the major blood vessel. The costal cartilage, which is the blue. allows the rib to attach to the sternum, providing more protection to the heart and lungs. Then you have the exhale process, which is the smallest part of the sternum and it lies at the same level of T10, or it has no costal cartilage that are attached to it. But what is very important about this one is that it is the anchor of the many muscles that include muscles included in the abdominal diaphragm. It includes also the rectus abdominis and the transverse thoracic muscle. I show you where it's pointing. It's pointing here. Okay, you also have the sternal joint. It is one of the immobile joints between two portions of the sternum. It is usually where the body of the sternum, and it is usually located in the body of the sternum and the hexaphoid process meets. Okay, then we also have the ribs. There's 12 ribs, which are shown here. There's 12 ribs. It protects the lungs, heart, and also the internal organs in your thoracic cavity, like your stomach, your heart, and lungs. There's also called the true ribs, which is called also the vertebral ribs, which is usually 1 through 7, as you've seen here, the true ribs that are directly joined to the sternum. And then you have the false ribs, which is number 8 through 12, that I described earlier. They do not reach the sternum directly. That's why they're called false rib. And the last two are, sorry, I wrote this all out so I won't forget anything. The 8th and 10th are called the vertebrocranial ribs, and the 11 and 12 are called the floating ribs, which are because they do not attach to anything. These are the most important landmarks in surface and anatomy. So thank you for listening and thank you for watching. I will be putting up some pictures so you guys can see more detailed. I did try to emphasize everything, and I did try to outline everything that is very important in here. Thank you for your time and have a great day.